What's up, guys? It's Eventon here. So I actually just finished recording for about 15 minutes and realized my mic was muted. So this time around, we're actually going to do it right and do it a bit quicker, if anything. So this is the 200 million ISK mission running ship fit. Actually, technically I have two different fits, but all you're doing is swapping out like 2 or 3 modules. So it's very straightforward. I would say the people that benefit the most from this type of ship are the people that are just getting into level 4 missions and maybe they don't have the best skills and things like that. Maybe you have skills in shields and drones and missiles, like I do. But even veterans that have been playing for a long time and do have like say 1 or 2 mission running ships, but you want to do missions for other empires. Like for me personally, I have a Rattlesnake and a Typhoon fleet issue out in like Minimatar space, and I run Sisters of Eve missions quite frequently. But there's other times where I want to be able to run missions in Caldari or Galente just to get those standings up or get some loyalty points. And it's really difficult to either move my ship, these huge ships, around to different empires, or I have to invest another like 800 million to 1.2 billion into another mission runner for that part of space. So this is actually really, really good if you like running missions for a ton of different empires or different factions and getting those standings up. Since all you have to do is invest roughly 200 or 300 million because you need to get ammo and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think those are the types of people that could benefit this the most. Let's go ahead and jump into the kind of like the support skills that are needed to be able to fly this thing. So the first thing is, it was always a battle with the Praxis to make everything fit in the CPU grid that it had. It's honestly really, really low for a battleship. So it's really required that you have CPU management 5. If you have it at 4, that's fine. Preferably get it to 5, but if you don't, you're gonna have to swap out one of the lows for another coprocessor, which will reduce your damage or range depending on what you swap. Having capacitor systems operations as well as capacitor management at 5 is a huge benefit. It's not required if both of these that are at 4. It's not a huge deal, but it definitely helps. Same thing with weapon upgrades. This is kind of required to have at 5 because again, this fit is really tight on CPU. So getting weapon upgrades to 5 is really important. As for rigging, because one of the rig slots is like a missile launcher rig, you actually don't even need this at all in order to make this fit. I try to make this fit as close as possible so even people that don't have like all the perfect CPU skills and all that stuff maxed out can still fly it. But if you do have launcher rigging to like 3 or 4 or higher, it just gives you more room for upgrades within the ship. Same thing with missiles. So just the damage that's showing on my ship is just reflecting the fact that all of my support skills are at 4 out of 5 and my heavy missiles are at 5 out of 5. That's really pretty much it. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the fits. And like I said, there's pretty much like 2 mission running fits that I have, but they're very, very similar. So I will say this, so the fit is under 200 million. It's a little bit of clickbait, I'll be honest, because you want to run more than just the Federation Navy Ogres in this thing. You do want to have probably kinetic and thermal versions of heavy drones. So the Ogres as well, the Vespas are the medium versions, the Wasps. And then you want Wardens for your sentries because the thermal versions of the sentries are like really short range. I like using the Wardens for that super far range. And then a fleet of light drones. It doesn't really matter kinetic or thermal because they're just there to take out tiny frigates. So ideally you do want to have basically 4 heavies, 4 sentries, and 5 lights, which can actually all fit in the ship into its drone bay. Go ahead and looking at the high slots. So we'll go ahead and drag this over. So our missiles are getting 72 kilometers, but if we actually put in the script, the range script here in the middle, with my skills, just saying that, we can actually push 80 kilometer flight range in this thing. And so we are using Caldari Navy heavy missiles ammo because that gives us the furthest range and the most damage that isn't T2. And we're using the Arbalist rapid heavy missile launchers because again, those are the best things we can use that aren't T2. Drone Link Augmenter 1 for increased drone range, because there are some instances where bad guys are 50, 60, 70 kilometers away and we want to use our sentries to shoot them instead of sending out our heavies and they take 30 seconds to get there to shoot them down. So this will just help us increase our clear time for certain rooms. And the compact acid cat battery. So again, if you guys do have those like missile skills, like leveled up the missile rigging skills, like you can swap this out for like a large T2 version. But again, I wanted to keep the skills and everything like as low as, but like this is basically like the bottom skills required in order to run T2 or run level 4 missions. If you're able to upgrade some things in here, great. If not, but you should still be able to get away with this. As you guys might have noticed, the capacitor says it's gonna, oh my god, it's gonna run out in 2 minutes. That's not the case. So the reason why I have it set up this way is, first off, you're not running your micro warp drive the entire time. And then if anything, it's just gonna make your signature radius huge and make you easier to hit. So this fit is mostly for rooms where you warp in and a lot of the ships are like 60 plus kilometers away. And sometimes ships are even like 90 kilometers away. But usually when they're that far, they're not really hitting you. So you don't need your micro warp drive on, and you don't need your shield booster on hardly at all. This is only if there's some rooms that if you kill something and they kind of get close next to you, like they drop some ships like 40 or 30 kilometers away from you, and you are taking a little bit of damage, but that happens very infrequently. And of course, the micro warp drive is just to help you get from gate to gate, because sometimes you warp in, you're killing stuff at 70 kilometers away, but the next gate is like 30 kilometers away. And if you did not have a micro warp drive, it might take you like a full 5 minutes to get there, just like going at 90 meters a second, which takes eternity. So occasionally you do want to have this on just to get from pocket to pocket, but most of the time you're just sitting there shooting things from far away, having the missile guidance computer with the range script on, so you're able to shoot from further away as well. We are running 2 compact multispectral shield hardeners. Again, that's just to save us on CPU. If you guys are able to upgrade these because you're able to save some CPU somewhere, you can do that as well. And I know the only difference between these and like T2 versions was like 64% versus 62%. So it's honestly not that big of a difference. One small note, alpha characters should still be able to run this. The only thing is that the shield boost amplifier 2 is an omega thing, but if you just downgrade it to like a stalwart or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Everything should still run very similarly. In the low slots, we have a damage control for increased tank. We have the coprocessor 2 for increased CPU grid, because this fit is really tight in the CPU. We have 2 of the missile guidance enhancer 2s that increases our range as well as our damage application. So with these applications, like you can actually shoot frigates from, I would say like 30 to 40 kilometers away and be able to one-shot them because they're flying right at you. They're taking the whole damage right to the face. So if they're even further than that, they're still going to get one shot, but if they're getting closer and closer, it's going to be harder. So typically on most of these missions, as you'll notice, I'll go over the videos here in a little bit. I've recorded like myself doing like 10 of the missions, but we're just going to do 30-second snippets of kind of like the difficult parts or things that you should choose from. Most times I just ignored the frigates. I was just shooting the big bad guys, the battleships that were actually applying the damage. And sometimes I would have like 3, 4, 5 frigates just shooting me, but their damage is so low, it's not really bothering me. I did run this fit particularly for very comfortably for like 13 of the 15 missions. There was only like 2 or 3 missions where it got a bit hairy and my shield actually broke. And it got like halfway through armor. I was still able to complete the mission, but it did get a bit hairy, which is why I have this brawl fit, which I'll cover here in a second. So in the rigs, we have 2 capacitor control circuit 1s to just increase our capacitor like sustainability, and a warhead calcification catalyst just to increase that damage as well. I was trying to figure out if I wanted the range, because there's a rig that increases the range or the rig that gives damage. Mainly because the ballistic control, like the damage modules in the low slots take up more CPU, so I figured I'd rather have more damage just in general, because the faster you can kill things, the better. We'll go ahead and take a look at the Brawler. The Brawler is mostly for times where there are a lot of battleships and everything is within like 60 kilometers, because there are some pockets like that. And plus, I noticed in some of the missions where the gate is right next to me each and every time. Like, you know, you take a gate, you land pretty much right next to the next gate, and all you have to do is kill the room, and you just keep going and going. I felt like I was wasting my micro warp drive, and I'm like, well, I could swap that out for either another cap battery, so I'm more cap stable, or in this case, like another shield boost amplifier. So this fit is completely identical to the other fit, except there's only 3 differences. I swapped out the micro warp drive for another large cap battery, and I swapped out the missile guidance computer for basically a shield boost amplifier 2. And if you're alpha, just downgrade it, not that big of a deal. And in the low slot, I just swapped out one of the missile guidance computer ones with a ballistic control system as well. And again, if you feel like you're getting hurt for the diminishing returns too much and you're actually pushing more damage with drones, you can actually swap this out for a drone damage amplifier or whatever. So the long story short of it is all you need to do is pretty much run the mission runner range fit, but just get an extra set of shield boost amplifier, get an extra battery, and get an extra ballistic control or an extra damage control drone damage amplifier, depending on where your skills are and where you're actually able to push the most damage. So all in all, if you wanted to run this whole fit with all the different variations and things like that, it'd probably cost you like 250 million. hardly anything at all. And I think this is a really great fit because, again, there are some missions where it's very, very tight, and I was breaking shield, but most of the time, on 90% of the missions, I was just shooting everything from ranged. I don't think I ever got below maybe 40% shields at any point, except for some of those particular missions. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the videos right now. All right, and again, guys, these fits aren't supposed to be super cut and dry. If you guys do want to push more damage or have a bit more tank and you feel comfortable running the fit in a different way, you're more than welcome to do that. And plus, the Praxis is just an amazing ship. I forgot to mention that earlier, just the sheer flexibility it's able to pull off. But I apologize if I'm talking really quickly through these because I didn't want to have all 10 missions panned out, and this video would be like literally 3 hours long. So I just try to condense them as much as I could and cover the most important points. So this one is, that last one was the Wildcat. That one's super straightforward. I even messed up and spawns happened on top of me, but I was able to clear it and be able to get to the next room and warp out since you don't have to kill anything in that second room. This one is the right hand of Zazmataz. This one I actually messed up on. I used my micro warp drive to get closer. I wasn't sure if I wanted the loot from Zor since he does have a very small chance of dropping the implant, but in this case, we ended up killing it, but we took a lot of unnecessary damage. So the second time around, I just kept range. I used my Caldari Navy Wardens to shoot him down, and we probably should have focused Zor down directly, just put all of our damage on him because he does do the most damage, like well over like 500 or 400 per hit. So once you kill both of those things, you warp out, you're done. This one is a bit different, or this one I did actually have a bit of difficulty on. So Pirate Slaughter initially was pretty easy, but there is I believe it's the third wave that comes in where there's a lot of battleships, a lot of cruisers, battle cruisers that warp in once you do hit that like communications battleship once. And you are taking a lot of damage very quickly, especially since for whatever reason Serpentis ships have like unlimited range and like hardly ever miss. You are taking a lot of damage. So this is one of the few times where I do recommend you take the Brawler fit instead, because the micro warp drive isn't doing anything for us. We are so close to the acceleration gate in both pockets, it doesn't really matter. And we don't need any range since pretty much all the ships are within like 50 kilometers. So if we end up doing the brawling fit, this I really think that this pocket would have gone much differently. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of myself doing the brawling fit because when I tried to use it, I just kept on getting like the other 13 missions over and over and over. So, but you guys have to just take my word for it. But if you guys do end up struggling with it, you guys can always mix and match it as much as you can doing this. Of course, you can always warp out, warp back in, and just do the mission over again. This is the room where it started getting really, really tough. I started getting into armor. I even bookmarked where one of my assets was. I think it's just back to the mission hub in order to get back safely, because right here it starts getting really, really hairy pretty quickly, and as well as like my capacitor started getting a little bit low. So again, this is where the Brawler fit would have done much better, because the Brawler fit would have allowed me to keep that capacitor up and be able to heal for much more in between coming in here. And plus I could have focused some of the ships much better. I don't know why I started focusing some of the cruisers. I should have just been focusing on the battleships. But as you can see here, we do get halfway through armor and are able to warp out, and that's kind of what the damage control is for. We have so much resistance in our armor and hull that you end up getting caught. You have more than enough time to warp out after your shield gets knocked down in order to escape. So I ended up bookmarking my tracker. And again, I mean, it's the same story the next room, except it's nowhere near as difficult, but everything is so close, you can just use the brawling fit and you're fine. I mainly wanted to show this one because this is just an example of the range fit. You just shoot everything from range. I don't know what else to say. I mean, everything is 70 to 80 kilometers away. I'm using my Caldari Navy Wardens to be able to shoot them from far away. If you don't have the skills to be able to shoot stuff from this far away, of course, just use your micro warp drive, get a little bit closer. But again, and even this pocket, that gate is like 40 kilometers away. So if you don't have a micro warp drive, it's going to take you a very, very long time to get there. And I believe it's the same story in the next pocket. But I'm not a huge fan of this one, Smuggler Interception. This one is kind of annoying, especially since some of those battleships on the right side next to that like big wrecked station can get stuck, and like they end up just staying really far away. I don't think I ended up recording that in the next room. I think I did end up recording anyway, but I do remember, I mean, this is very straightforward. As you can see, like we're not taking any damage at all. We're not turning on our booster. There's no need to. And then this next one, this is Smuggler Interception still, but I think all we have to do is kill like 4 battleships, 2 transports. And on this one, I actually ended up killing the transports first because I wanted my mobile tractor unit to grab that first, since all we need is just one set of like the 10 militants. You don't have to kill both transports. I believe you do, but you only need one of the loot from one of the transports. But I locked up all the ships that I needed to kill in order to complete the mission, and we just warp out. No reason to do full clears. And again, I mean, this ship isn't made to do full clears. It's just made to be able to shoot ships from far away and clear them out. As you're shooting the battleships, as you run these missions more and more, you'll kind of understand the damage limitations of some of your missiles. For me, all I needed to do to kill most battle cruisers was just 3 cycles of the rapid heavy missile launcher. Same thing with cruisers. Most cruisers only took 3, sometimes 5 if it was like kind of like a heavy version or whatever. But as you play more, you're able to just get more and more efficient, and that way you're not wasting missiles, since the reload time of the rapid heavy missile launcher, as you're seeing right now, is just it takes quite a while, and sometimes it can get quite hairy, especially if you're getting some of the smaller ships on top of you. One thing I will say is when you're looking at these missions, just make sure that you pay really close attention to see if any of the frigates have like scrams, because that's what's really going to kill you. It's not webs. That's usually not the damage. You usually have more than enough time to get away. But there is a mission where it does spawn like elite frigates or anything like that, and they can scram you. That's what's going to get you killed at the end of the day. Rarely it's just raw damage coming at you all the time. Again, this one is just showing, even though there are a lot of ships on grid and they're able to shoot me down, not shoot me down, but I mean, even though there are a lot of ships on grid, I'm able to shoot them down very quickly, just surely with my range. And I think there is a point where I just ignore a lot of the frigates that do eventually get on top of me, because I just want to keep my damage up as high as I can, because putting those wardens on top of those battleships, battle cruisers and cruisers, and reducing that damage is going to work best, rather than having them try to attack those little, I guess you could call them frigates. I don't know. These are all drones technically, but yeah, so don't be scared if you do see a lot of ships on grid. If this was a room full of Serpentis ships, like I said before, for whatever reason, those things have like unlimited range and have really good damage application. But because it's drones, I guess it just depends on the faction that you're up against. Since even though this one, as you can see, we're getting completely swarmed. But I mean, we never got below 20% shield at all during that point, and we never ran into a capacitor issue either. This one is actually the Dread Pirate Scarlet. The very first room, if you do not have a gate key, you probably should Brawl the Fit, because that one actually did have to have me a warp off, because that first room was the Serpentis room. If you get the Angel room, like the initial pocket, that's not too bad. But if you get Serpentis, you will have to warp off and probably get in the Brawl Fit in order to kill it. This one, I tried to one-shot her, but it's just not enough. I think we maybe have 25,000 damage like Alpha. If we shoot her, maybe 3,000. I don't know off the top of my head. But it's just not enough to one-shot her. I just tried it just for the heck of it, but there's just no way. So again, we're using a marker warp drives. It does look like it's getting a bit hairy, but this last room is actually really, really easy. All we're doing is locking her up. We're shooting her. It's actually not even worth it to kick out your wardens, because all it takes is like 3 or 4 cycles to kill her, and then you're able to warp off. It just takes too long to like kick out your sentries, shoot her down, and then bring them back in as well. So, and as you guys can see on that one, Scarlet was pretty far away. She was at 76 kilometers, so it's definitely important that you guys maximize that rapid heavy missile launcher range, so you guys are able to just warp in, shoot her, and get out, instead of having to get closer, potentially take damage, shoot her down, and then warp out. And of course, with all these missions with like Annette Scarlet, as well as like the right hand of a Zazmataz, those ones where all you have to do is kill a couple things and warp out. Usually I'm aligning before I'm even done. So usually with the last few shots, I'm aligning, so that by the time they're dead, I'm already warping out as soon as I can. And so this one is Angel Extravaganza. This one was honestly pretty straightforward. There's only a couple times where my capacitor got a little low, because I was actually over-repping, meaning I was running my shield booster when I didn't need to. And so that usually happened more in like the second room, but this first room was pretty easy as well. This one can get a bit hairy. I was kind of more concerned than I probably needed to be, but this one is downing the slavers. The first mission is really straightforward, but this one is you actually have to kill 2 cruisers and ignore everything else. But the amount of DPS that does come out, like this whole time, I'm actually aligning the entire time. So this one, because the cruisers are so close, you can actually probably run this in the Brawler fit if you needed to, but it's not necessary. I'm overheating my missiles. You probably didn't need to, or I didn't need to on this in this case, but I'm aligning it the whole time. I'm killing the 2 cruisers and getting out. So I'm getting webbed, not scrammed, so I'm perfectly safe. And so once she's dead, or once they're dead, I end up warping out. All right, and this is now for the Caracal Skin giveaway. So all of you guys that replied to my last video are going to be entered in on this. And so the first winner is going to be, we have 30 comments, as we can see here, which is Simon Wickerson. Not sure if anyone already mentioned this in your PvP vid, but you can hold shift and click module. Yeah, I got all these. So congrats on winning one of the skins, man. So your in-game name is Oak Luna Atreides. Atreides, I believe that's from Dune, I believe, which is, I played the video game, but haven't read the book, but someday I will. And the next winner will be, that is a bot or someone that probably linked something. I do remember that guy's name. StrangeNet, I believe you already, you said right here, hey Eve man, he said, PS, don't put me in the draw for the skin. I'm struggling to get mine out the door. So he's another content creator. You guys should check him out. I've actually been watching him since I started playing Eve like nearly a year ago. So awesome guy, great content. I comment on a lot of his stuff and I learn something new every single time. So actually I'll put a link down to his channel down in the description as well if you guys want to check him out. All right, so now let's see if we don't find a bot or another content creator. Johnny Yeager, keep up the good work. I'm not sure if you gave me an in-game name. If you did, I don't think you did. So we'll go ahead and pick another winner. Gosh, this is going. Creven Yeager, in-game name Oscar Yeager. I remember that last guy, I asked him for his in-game name. He never replied. So he said, hey, nice video. I'm running missions in mid-military space, the Typhoon fleet issue. I actually just got your comment not too long ago, showing me the fit, which is pretty cool, man. I'll probably do mine on my fleet issue fit here pretty soon. But congrats to both of you guys on winning the Caracal Skin giveaway.